Edward Garcia is a proud East Liverpool High School graduate of the class of 2000. Upon graduation, Mr. Garcia attended Boston University, where he earned a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science and Comparative Health Politics in 2004. In 2008, he earned his Master of Health Science and Public Health from the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, graduating first in his class, and he was inducted into the Delta Omega Honor Society for Excellence in Public Health. Mr. Garcia is a highly respected public health and social policy expert, network developer, speaker, and advocate. With extensive experience in public health, social services, and government programs, he has demonstrated a strong commitment to health and social policy reform. His expertise spans public and private sector health programs, federal regulatory and legislative policy and advocacy, global health policy, multinational organization engagement, and coalition and nonprofit organization development. He currently serves as a senior partner with Healthsperian LLC. Mr. Garcia offers clients thoughtful and expansive expertise in health and social policy development and advocacy for low-income and other vulnerable populations. With 20 years of experience working in government health and social services program, he possesses a deep knowledge in a multitude of policy issue areas. Mr. Garcia serves as the lead partner supporting Healthsperian's health plan portfolio, as well as its coalitions and nonprofits focused on social connections and mental health. He brings a wealth of knowledge and passion for policy and program development to expand access to social determinants of well-being for vulnerable populations globally. He is a sought-after speaker on issues of social isolation, loneliness, and social health, having appeared before PBS NewsHour, the American Public Health Association, the World Health Organization, the European Union, the Royal Family of Sweden, Pope Francis, and the Holy See, and numerous national governments and organizations around the world. East Liverpool City Schools is honored to welcome Mr. Garcia back to his alma mater to inspire the class of 2025 with his insights and his experiences. His journey from an ELHS graduate to a global leader in public health policy serves as a testament to the power of education, perseverance, and service. Please welcome Edward Garcia.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Principal Burson, for that kind introduction. It's a real honor to be welcomed back to Potter Fieldhouse for this milestone moment like this. To the class of 2025, to your families and your friends, to the faculty and the staff, and to community members who've shown up to celebrate you, thank you for letting me be here to be part of this day. It's been 25 years since I sat where you are now as a member of the class of 2000. And I'll be honest, I'm feeling a mix of emotions. I'm proud, I'm grateful, and I'm more than a little moved to be addressing you. So if you catch me making silly faces, please forgive me. It's something I've been doing since I was an altar boy at St. Al's on 5th Street. Ask my sister about that. Despite my youthful jitters, I served on the altar to make my mother proud. I knew Mass was serious, that I was supposed to be reverent. But let's just say that my face didn't get the memo. My expressions were a little less sacred rite and a little more Saturday Night Live. And my tenure on the altar didn't last long either. But still, I tried. I said yes. And that's the thing. I said yes to a lot growing up. Not because I had some grand plan or thought I was doing anything special, but because I was curious, I was restless, and lucky enough to be surrounded by great teachers and community members who supported me and let me try new things. I wanted to swim in high school, so I started the Potter Swim team. I wanted to learn photography, so we started a club. I saw families who needed a little extra help at the holidays, so we started a Thanksgiving food drive. It was never about standing out. It was always about pitching in. That's something I learned here growing up in this community. We see something that needs doing, and we step up. We say yes. When thinking about what I wanted to say today, I came across some of your Instagram photos from your prom last month. It got me reminiscing about my own prom, and another time I said yes. To help fund our prom, our class volunteered at SeaWorld, Ohio. Remember that place, millennials, Gen Xers? Because when you think about majestic sea life, you naturally think of Aurora, Ohio, right? Most volunteers that day got jobs like picking up trash or directing visitors. I, however, ended up with one of our amazing teachers, Mrs. Holly Roberts, and we were assigned to clean glass outside of the aquarium all day by hand, just the two of us. What followed was an Olympian feat of character building. Picture it, buckets of Windex, a few rags, two sweaty, stinky volunteers surrounded by a foggy kaleidoscope of fish, slime, and sea lion's breath. We spent hours climbing ladders, scrubbing a wall of fingerprints, and silently questioning life choices that brought us there. I think I may have experienced all 5 stages of grief that day. But we kept going, and hours later, soaked and exhausted, we'd cleaned half of the aquarium. The manager walked up to us in total disbelief because they didn't actually expect us to clean more than a few panels. But we Potters, as you all know too well, we Potters go big or we go home, right? By the end of the day, we were too tired to speak, until we weren't. Reeking of chemicals, algae, and fish poop, we sat in front of the bus and just burst out laughing. And yes, we had to throw those clothes away. But that's what saying yes looks like sometimes. Not a big moment, not a round of applause, just doing something hard and unglamorous and necessary, with the best attitude you can muster, and maybe, if you're lucky, someone by your side to laugh with. Of course, saying yes is only the beginning, because once you say yes to new experiences and new people and new challenges, you eventually have to face the bigger question: who are you really doing it for? For a long time after high school, I followed a playbook that wasn't exactly mine. I went to great schools, worked 2 or 3 jobs at a time, and chased big titles in public health and health policy. I even had the honor of working under 2 US presidents and alongside one of the longest-serving members of Congress. From the outside, it looked like success. But the truth is, it never felt quite at home in the person I was becoming. I thought if I just worked hard enough, kept pushing forward, and checked every box, I would feel like something I was making a difference with. And I had earned my place. But it turns out, earning your place isn't about the titles that you collect. It's about finding your true self. And like most people, I had to learn that the hard way. It all caught up with me years later, somewhere over the Pacific Ocean, when I directed federal relations for one of the largest health insurance organizations in the country. I was on a red-eye flight home, reading a congressional proposal to strip Medicaid coverage from millions of Americans. I immediately started sketching out an advocacy strategy, what to say, who to reach out to, and how to push back. I even contacted my board of directors mid-flight, but I was told not to fight that fight. I could not believe it, and something in me snapped. I had a panic attack midair. I couldn't breathe, I couldn't speak. The poor guy next to me almost had a panic attack, calling out, screaming for help across the cabin. I had lost control of my body and eventually lost consciousness. I came to lying in the middle of the aisle with an oxygen mask strapped to my face, surrounded by a crowd of concerned, although possibly angry, passengers and crew, because the protocol was that we now had to make an emergency landing in Los Angeles. But that was my wake-up call. I knew something had to change. So I quit my job in DC. I came back to East Liverpool. I needed to recharge with my family. I needed to reconnect with my roots, step back into the backdrop of who I am, and the community that taught me to care about something bigger than myself. And then I did what any rational person would do. I booked a solo trip to a buffalo farm in the Canadian Rockies. But out there in that one-room cabin, under an endless starry sky, I finally got quiet enough to hear my own voice again, to peel back the layers of stress and ambition and reveal my true, authentic self. I hiked, I wrote, I sat with tough questions I had been avoiding. What do I really care about? Who do I want to be? How do I want to show up in the world? And there in that solitude, the answer became clear. I wanted to help people feel less alone. I wanted to work on things that felt real, work that aligned with who I was, not who I thought I was supposed to be, work that allowed me to find power in my authenticity. So I returned home from the Rocky Mountain Buffalo Farm trip, went back to DC, and I didn't look for another big corporate job. I built something instead. I joined a firm where I could focus on the issues that really matter to me: mental health, connection, and belonging. Through that work, we launched 2 global nonprofit organizations focused on social isolation, loneliness, and social connection, issues that touch every generation in every part of the globe. But loneliness can weigh more heavily on some generations more than others. For instance, 56% of boomers, 64% of Gen X and millennials, and nearly 80% of Gen Z report experiencing acute loneliness. I started speaking publicly on loneliness and community, and about the economic and emotional power of human connection. Our work has reached the halls of Congress, the European Union, various royal families, and even the Vatican, as you heard. But what's the most important impact? It's reaching people who feel alone in communities like ours around the world. In the process, I had the privilege of elevating loneliness from a private struggle to a global public health priority, convincing the World Health Organization to launch a global commission, and now 192 countries poised to recognize social disconnection as a global pandemic and commit resources to help their people reconnect. Obviously, none of that happened because I had it all figured out. It happened because I finally stopped pretending and started leading with who I really am. And what I've learned is this: when your work reflects your values and you show up with your true, authentic self, you open doors for others to do the same. You stop performing and you start connecting. We live in a time where it's really easy to pull apart. It takes real courage to reach out, to connect, to be the bridge. But building those connections doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes it looks like checking in on someone. Sometimes it's standing up for people whose voices aren't being heard. Sometimes it's making sure the next person doesn't feel as invisible as you once did. And sometimes it's choosing not to define someone by how they differ from you, but by what you have in common and the humanity you share. So if you take nothing else from this speech, let it be this. First, say yes. Even when it's hard, even when it's messy, even when you have no idea what's coming next. It's how we learn. It's how we grow and find ourselves in places we never imagined, but in which we were always meant to be. Second, be real, because your greatest strength doesn't come from fitting in. It comes from showing up fully as yourself. When you lead with authenticity, you create space for honesty, for courage, and for connection. And that's where real change begins. And third, be the bridge wherever you find none. A bridge between people and ideas, between hope and action, between who we are and who we can become together. Because a connected community is a resilient one, and the future depends on all of us making sure no one gets left behind. These certainly are not new ideas. These are tried and true, and they've been embodied by people in this community for generations. For example, you could say yes, like activist and lifelong East Liverpool resident Alonzo Spencer, who boarded a bus to Washington, D.C. in 1963 to attend the March on Washington for Civil Rights. That was his first yes, and it sparked his lifetime of advocacy for civil rights, environmental justice, and the well-being of people in this town. You can be real like East Liverpool native Ruth Crawford Seeger, born in 1901, who became one of the most groundbreaking American composers of the 20th century, and the first female composer to receive a Guggenheim Fellowship. She fused modernist music with American folk traditions, staying true to her artistic vision while honoring her musical heritage. Her work helped ignite an American folk revival that shaped generations, including her stepson, folk legend Pete Seeger. And you can be the bridge that connects people, like Elizabeth P. Carter did. I'm sure many of you remember the late, great Mrs. Carter, someone who I view as one of my first role models. A longtime East Liverpool resident and tireless community builder, she believed no one should ever feel invisible, forgotten, or left behind. She founded a nonprofit that created safe, welcoming spaces for children in need across the tri-state area for nearly half a century. Through community meals, free music lessons, book-filled rooms, scholarships, and so much more, she brought people together and gave them what they needed most: dignity, joy, and belonging. Mrs. Carter showed us what it means to be a bridge, opening her home, her heart, and her arms to anyone who needed a place to belong. And that kind of impact doesn't end. It echoes through the lives of the people she touched, the communities she strengthened, and the example she left behind for all of us. Because your community shapes you, and you shape your community. There is a sacred responsibility and commitment between these two. As you go out into the world, I know things may feel uncertain, maybe even a little overwhelming, but I promise you this: you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to begin. And you don't need permission to do that. It won't always be easy, but every one of you has what it takes to lead, to serve, and to make this a better world than when you found it. Because Potters go big or go home. So go big, go bold, go with your whole heart. And never forget this town, this school, or this moment. It'll always be a part of you, like it's always been a part of me. Congratulations, class of 2025. Go make us proud, and thank you for letting me come home.